Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you very much for joining me here. We're going to take a quick look at my top 5 picks for the next quarter, or essentially January, February, March. Some of them could take off sooner and others a little bit later, but I do think that these are the most independent of Bitcoin. They've done very, very well considering all the major sell-offs here recently, and even some of them have sold off a little bit, but they're holding very strong. So the whole purpose is, of course, to kind of highlight some of the the good ones, the good quality coins that should likely continue to progress upwards regardless of what happens with Bitcoin, or at least be the first ones to take off, right? Because I do think that alt season is on the horizon, and this could be one of the major catalysts, of course, with Bitcoin dropping its bottom. I'm not going to worry about that here. Go ahead and take a look at my other Bitcoin video if you're curious about that. I'm covering that daily now just to make sure we stay abreast on what's happening, but let's go ahead and get started. Now, taking a look first and foremost, YFI is one of my picks here for this quarter. And the main reason why is just because it's done very well here recently, of course, but has tremendous long-term potential. So let's go ahead and take a look at the 1 week chart and kind of identify some of these trends here. We can see we're essentially making higher highs and higher lows in the 1 week chart, which is extremely important. We look at the simple moving average here as well, and we're up over the 50, which is also very, very good. We're also above 50 in the RSI on the 1 week, and if you are above 50, that's a very, very good sign for bullish continuation. Very few coins are over that right now. Okay, so good stuff there in that sense. I really like that. Same thing as well with the 1 day. We're one of the few coins right now holding above the 50 and the 200-day simple moving average on the 1 day chart. And that is essentially creating a nice strong support level. You can see the last 4 days in a row, for lack of better terms, the price has tried to break below the 200 and cannot seem to do that. So 32,600 seems to be the current bottom for YFI. Same scenario as well on the 1 day. You can see the RSI is staying above 50, therefore holding a nice strong support concurrent with the 200-day simple moving average. Okay, so really all good stuff here for both of these, both these charts, both these timeframes on this coin. I do think we have tremendous potential, specifically in the sense that it bounced back very well. Its lowest point, by the way, mind you, is 17,840. So keep in mind, if we do end up losing a support or two, just say we break below the 50-day simple moving average, this sentiment could change and we could see more so bearish momentum, and that could effectively change things, right? But until we get there, as long as we stay above the 50-day simple moving average, which is trending right around 29/30,000, I think we'll be in good shape to see YFI continue to progress upwards. Now, again, pay close attention. If Bitcoin does lose its bottom here soon, which seems like it's trying to do that, and we travel closer to 37,000, then YFI could effectively test the 50-day simple moving average. We want to pay attention to that. All right, moving on to the next one, of course. I'm sure you're not surprised by this. Phantom, I've been bullish on Phantom for some time, and regardless of the sell-off we've seen in the last 2 days, it's holding very strong right at the support level here at about $2.15. Now, I was speculating recently, the lowest point in which we want to see this go is the 50-day simple moving average. Now, while that's kind of progressing sideways at the moment, that is trending right around $2. So I feel like $2 would be the bottom most price you want to consider, at least for not only a good entry, but if the price goes below that, then we could essentially be more so in a bearish type of sentiment, and that would be adverse, of course, but I think that we're in pretty good shape if we can hold $2 or higher, and it's proven to bounce right off at 215, 220 today. And that was pretty good consideration based on the simple fact that there's a tremendous amount of volume, a lot of selling off going on right now. And the main reason why, you got to understand, there's a lot of profitable coins like this for industry leaders, those who are controlling the market. They're selling coins like this first before they sell anything else in the face of danger, right? When that happens, we can expect this type of coin to kind of dissolve, but it didn't dissolve very strong or very hard. A lot of other coins did, and this actually held up fairly well. So I'm excited to kind of see what happens the next few days here, but I do feel like this is going to be a strong one. And the main reason why, too, also, is based on the simple fact that this resistance level here, right about 316, which is basically our profit target for our community as well, I still feel comfortable that we're going to be able to hit that. And once we break above, it's going to be nonstop, right? It's going to be one of those situations, it's going to be Solana times 2, or basically the second Solana, if you recall how well it did once it broke its all-time high, right? I think Phantom has that potential. I would say upwards of no less than 6 is my recommendation for consideration for how far up it could go. Of course, a 2x from this point right now, based on the current trajectory and how much it's moved in the last month, we are looking at 516. But I do feel if we're to continue to progress upwards, we are to reevaluate Fibonacci retracement lines, we could even see a 3 or 4 on that chart, right? So I do think $6 is very likely this year. Even furthermore, we could probably see somewhere along the lines of double digits from Phantom. I still think that's very, very realistic. So I'm very, very bullish on Phantom. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the 1 week chart as well. And again, you can kind of see this pattern, higher highs and higher lows. Most coins are way down here by now. Okay. So again, just something to consider, and remember, we're well above the 50-day simple moving average on the 1 week chart. That is extremely important. Okay. One last thing too, also obviously well above 50 on the RSI. And if you look at the 1 day, I'm feeling like we're had a nice little bounce here recently. So all good stuff here for Phantom. I wouldn't overly concern yourself with this decrease in price recently. It just gave us a better opportunity to buy in and average down. Okay. All good things for Phantom. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next potential. And I feel like ICP is also a very good quarter leader, so to speak. It will do very well in the next couple months. And the main reason why is because it's well above the 50-day simple moving average on the 1 day chart. It's also doing really well on the RSI, staying under 70, kind of keeping under the radar, but also above 50, which is extremely important. Because again, it's pretty easy to identify these type of coins that are doing very well right now, the ones that have good, best in class, so to speak. At least I feel that way, because of the fact that they're not suffering on the downside. They're giving us any bearish divergence yet. And when I say yet, you can see it's tested. It's done very, very well here, right at the point of the price point about $30. So the past 4 days straight, it held over 30. We're back up over the 50-day simple moving average. The only milestone would be to get up over the 200-day SMA. Okay, and that's all good stuff on the chart there, right? Same thing here as well with the 1 week. You can kind of see that the last 3 weeks has been bullish. We might see a sideways continuation pattern here for ICP based on the fact that it is a little on the overextended side. Usually when you see 3 green candlesticks in a row, you're looking at 3 white soldiers, right? Now, bear in mind, this is not 3 white soldiers exactly, because the middlemost candle is very abbreviated. It's almost a doji, and that kind of showed indecision, but that this last week we've seen significant confirmation that the price is going to increase and move forward. Okay, so again, these are all things I like to look at, and the one thing you want to understand though too, and this is the one thing is contradictory to the whole scenario, with the RSI being well under 30, that implies it's good value. And I know it seems kind of crazy because 50 is typically a resistance level. We'll bridge that gap when we get there, but 50 is going to put us in a pretty good price point, right? I mean, I feel as if it would be, I think it's really easy to say that we should see somewhere in the range of 80 to 100 from ICP in the next quarter. And that's just based on what I feel, based on what's going on here so far, specifically on the 1 day chart, but the 1 week being so low on the RSI, it only has up to go from here, right? How much lower can it go? It went from 250 on its ICO date, which by the way was in March, or correction, no, it was May, right? Yeah, May 10th. And that was the same exact week that Bitcoin tanked a good 20%. So you got to understand that its ICO date was terrible. It opened up really strong and fell flat on its face. And the main reason why is because it lost that significant momentum and is building back up again, right? So again, I do feel like this one's a little bit of a wild card. I'm not going to lie. It's not the perfect, most absolute one. But I do think that based on how low it is, it has a tendency of we should see at least a 2x from where we're at presently. So I would venture to guess within the next month, we're looking at least $60 to $70 to test its recent high right here, right? And which is basically 53, but truth be told, I think we have a lot more potential. And let me go ahead and update this as well so we can kind of see. That should put us right around 55 to go ahead and have a level of resistance there. Okay, so again, all good stuff here for ICP. I think that it's going to do very, very well. I'm personally bullish on this. I know it seems kind of contradictory, but it's just the fact that it has tremendous potential and it's done very well. But you got to remember that it opened in a very, very tough time. Most coins that opened when there's a major Bitcoin sell-off get damaged initially and have a tendency of doing very well in the long run. ICP is no exception. I think it's going to do very well. All right, so that is my, I guess you could say, wild card of the 5 that I feel is going to do very well. But truth be told, on the 1 week chart, we have some contradicting information. But I do think the daily's looking very strong. Okay. Next up is Harmony 1. And this one's pretty obvious. I mean, you can see here in the past 5 weeks, we started with a doji, we've had 4 strong candlesticks, and that's a very, very good sign. We're well above the 50-day simple moving average on the 1 week chart, and obviously the RSI is trending upwards, and we only ever came down to bounce off of 50 on the RSI, and that's extremely important. We've even got a MACD convergence forming here on the 1 week, right? So that should drive us past our all-time high here soon. Now, the all-time high is right around 38 cents, and ultimately right now the price is trending closer to about 31. So that is technically a little ways away, but keep in mind, if this one-day candlestick can close higher than where it's at presently, we could see a situation where the actual price action, we get the one-day candlestick to close above the previous one-day candlestick high. And that's extremely important. So if we can get that to kind of break, for lack of better terms, we could be looking very, very good for Harmony 1. If we don't break that, that's perfectly fine. It'll continue to test that resistance wall and break through eventually, because if you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row, it couldn't break that plane. And now it's testing it here today, and that's a very, very good sign. So ultimately, all good stuff there in that sense on the 1 week. We also see RSI over 50 and under 70. Again, most coins are not looking this healthy at this stage in the game, right? Because you got to understand, Bitcoin's been selling off since the first week of November, almost steadily. We've seen lower lows and lower highs for the most part, with a couple of small exceptions in the last 2 months solid, okay? So 2 months of solid digression from Bitcoin is basically exactly contradictory here. We see that, yes, it got that initial knee-jerk reaction, but it ramped back up, and it's not really slowing down based on the simple fact that Bitcoin is doing terrible right now, and Harmony 1 is still increasing. Okay, now let's take a look at the 1 day, and you'll see what I'm referring to there. Look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days now in a row where the price will not go any lower than 28 cents as far as a 1 day candlestick close. And of course, it's trying to break that 31 cent resistance right now, okay? We can break that plane. We're going to be in good shape to come up here and break the high right around 33, at least the most recent high, and then on to 38 and then some. Okay, and big picture potential here for Harmony 1. Again, this is just kind of based on the last 1 month's worth of trading data. We could see 52, 53 cents in the next month of trading, right? Therefore, we could even imply and suggest that we could see something even higher than that in the next 2 to 3 months. Because once again, once we break this all-time high, it's going to be taking off. And this is a coin I've been looking at for a very long time. I've been researching this one a lot, and I can tell you the fundamentals are very, very good. So do your own research. This has a really cool ecosystem, for lack of better terms, and I think it's going to take off and continue to do so. And again, this is kind of a similar pattern you can see, like when there's a high, an all-time high, a lot of coins all-time high in October. This one did as well. Came back to test it again, got rejected because basically Thanksgiving, right? Ever since Thanksgiving, we saw December 4th as a follow-up to that. There's been some really tumultuous time frames for Bitcoin. But even though this came down as low as 13 cents, it's way back up to 33, and I think we're going to be able to see somewhere in the range of 60, 70, almost $1 by the end of this quarter. That's just my speculation based on its momentum, higher highs, higher lows, well above 50 on the RSI. We got a nice little bounce. We're looking good, right? Again, these are kind of just some of the primitive, more basic indicators, but for the most part, you can kind of just tell certain coins that have a good pedigree, right? They have that independence from Bitcoin. I try to practice that, preach that, and help make sure that my members actually practice what I preach in that sense by trying to identify coins that are either synonymous with Bitcoin or independent of Bitcoin, because that independence creates a very, very big results, right? Because once people start catching on, if you can get in a little bit early, then they're going to start catching on and adding to that position, increasing the price, and it goes crazy once you hit its all-time high. And we're getting closer to that right now. All right, so Harmony 1 is another. This is my number 5 here for Link. I believe this is number 5, right? If I'm counting correctly. And this one obviously has just done very, very well in the past. And I think it's ramping up to do very well also. And the main reason why, again, is just its performance in the last 5 trading days. That's ultimately what I'm seeing here with a lot of these coins. They all have a very similar standard where they've wicked up, they've wicked down, but their 1 day candlestick close is within a range that's higher than the previous high, right? So this low, essentially, if you look at this here, we got the high, got the low, this high here, and all these lows are no lower than this previous high. And that's extremely important to have, because that will pretty much tell us that we have a nice strong support level there. If the price were to come down, we would get a nice bounce to the upside. Okay. Again, there's just a small handful of things that are really, really adding to this, and the fact that we're up over both moving averages is extremely important. We are also over 50 and under 70 on the RSI, so more room for growth. We're not overextended, but we have that tendency of breaking our all-time high in the near future. And I know that seems kind of crazy, But I do think it's very realistic here in the next month to see the price upwards of $40, if not higher. But for lack of better terms here, in 1 month, Chainlink has increased a total of 78%, right? We're going to see that same amount of increase in the next month. That'll put us right upwards of $40, even if not higher, depending on how well it continues, right? So again, once that Bitcoin dominance starts, continues to recede, we get under 40%. A lot of that volume is going to come over to altcoins, and they're going to go to the altcoins that are taking off. And what do you know? The coins that are taking off are going to be the ones that are no longer synonymous with Bitcoin, such as Chainlink. It's done very, very well. These are some gnarly candlesticks. We got some really high, really low ones, which is very abnormal for Chainlink, but it's fighting through and it's pushing through this current issue that Bitcoin is causing the market, right? Now, this week will be a good example of what's going to happen, of course. In other words, with everything happening with the data on Wednesday, we could see here soon how well Link responds. If Bitcoin drops and we see Link stay in the same place, if not increase, that'll be basically a check mark on the box there. Go ahead and add to your position, right? But all in all, I love the fact that we're up over the moving averages there. And if we look at the 1 week chart as well, we're currently testing the 50-day simple moving average. I don't love the fact that it's not above that yet, but it has good momentum and it's held very strong at the same price point for about 4 or 5 trading days. That to me is a very, very good sign. And we are breaching 50 on the RSI as well, which is also very, very good. And there's a shift in momentum you can see here as well. The bears are essentially losing control on the weekly, and that's extremely important, right? So a lot of good complementing factors here for Chainlink. Yes, we're not up over that 50-day SMA, but once we can close over 2750, we'll be in very, very good shape, more so specifically on the 1-day chart, okay? So all good stuff there. All right, I got a couple of bonus ones for you here, of course. I do feel that Atom is another one that's going to take off, continue to do very, very well. It is also based on the fact that it's right at that point where it keeps testing, and it's tested for a couple months now, or at least, actually 4 or 5 months. It keeps testing the level of roughly $45. Okay, so we got 2 or 3 tests recently, but with all the crazy stuff that's going on with Bitcoin recently, it couldn't continue higher. But look at this trajectory: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days in a row. We have this strong, strong continuation. Now, if we do take a quick look at TD sequential, though, just to kind of touch on this, we're only about set. We only went to a 7, got a reset. So we realistically could have seen a lot more momentum from Atom and broken its previous all-time high as a strong likelihood, hadn't we seen the correction from Bitcoin recently. But now that that's happened, we're getting a stronger base here, of course. The price has bounced off twice, right around $34.37. So I would consider adding to my position right around now, because ultimately I do feel like Atom's going to do very well, especially once it breaks its all-time high, right around the range of about $44, $45. So Atom is doing very, very well. That's another one that I think is going to do awesome. Pretty much all the indicators are here. We do have a potential bearish divergence in the 1 day, but that is pretty normal for what's happening. But today's candlestick is looking very good considering the fact that Bitcoin is still selling off and testing 40,500 currently as we speak, okay? Moving on, NEAR is another one I feel is going to do very well. The main reason why is just because it continues to test its previous high here, right? Right here at about 1632. Yes, we had this candle wick here, of course, but we actually had a swing trade recently where I was able to identify as soon as it broke over its 50-day simple moving average, it was taking off. We took entry right around 10 and took profits all along 13, 15, and 16. So ultimately, NEAR's been very good to us. And I would say that based on the way that it's performed recently and it's trending really, really well where it's at presently is a good sign. There's also a tremendous amount of volume right where the price is at. Now, granted, the price is below this. Yes, that can work as a potential resistance. But the fact that we have this much volume up above and at this price range is a good testament to how well it's performing, because Bitcoin's really only been going down in the last couple of weeks, and NEAR is basically going sideways the entire time. So for Coin to be as potentially overextended as it is, going sideways, I think that's a good sign. Okay, so again, these are just some picks that I have here. There's no guarantees, of course, but my very last one would be Keeper here, and I do want to kind of just bring this to your attention. This one's done very well also in the most recent past, and again, just kind of a bonus, bonus interest of mine. I do think we should keep an eye on this in this quarter, kind of see what's going on. If you're not currently, in a position, that's perfectly fine, but I do think the likelihood of it increasing from here is very high, considering how well it's done to consolidate. Now let's take a look at some of the moving averages and kind of see what's going on. We're up over the 50 and the 200, right? We're also up over 50 on the RSI and well under 70, okay? So if we get a bounce off of 50 on the RSI and the concurrent 50 on the relative, the actual charts there for the SMA, we're looking very, very good. And ultimately, this does look like a flag here, right? We got the flag, and typically these will break to the upside, okay? So again, it looks like it's kind of consolidating into this little wedge pattern, and we could effectively see some type of breakout to the upside soon, maybe regardless of Bitcoin doing anything, right? If Bitcoin goes sideways, we should probably see Keeper take off. If Bitcoin decreases in price, we could see it correct itself a little bit, but we'll likely see 50 on the SMA holding as a strong support level, okay? So again, all good stuff there in that sense. And then ultimately we got to understand here as well, how well it's corrected itself since it increased up to about 2,000. So is 2,000 likely? I think yes, absolutely. We just need to understand that there's going to be a strong resistance right at about 1680. Okay, so 1680 would essentially be the case in point where we want to pay attention. But again, there's a good potential here for the price to continue upwards over the next few weeks. So I would say roughly 4 to 6 weeks, we should see the price slowly continue to progress closer to 1680 and then break that to go ahead and push up to 2,000. Okay. Again, these are all just speculations. I'm not a professional, right? I'm not a financial advisor, just love teaching people how to trade. And I know I'm kind of glossing over a lot of stuff here, but these are coins I look at each and every day. So I can assure you that these are coins that I'm actually holding on to. These are in our portfolio. We have a swing trade portfolio for the community. And these are all coins that we are keeping a close eye on and making sure that we, have investments here and recommend them too, because these are all good coins. And I do think that we need to kind of pay attention to them. And mostly the reason why I feel that they're good is just the way that they've recovered and stabilized during the crazy Bitcoin sell-offs, all right? So try to identify that yourself. If you see some coins that are doing really well, they're holding up nice when Bitcoin continues to digress in price, then I would happily, take some consideration there. Go ahead and let me know. Send me a message. Let me know, and I'll go ahead and cover it in greater detail so we can kind of pay attention and look at it. But ultimately, this is kind of what I'm looking at here, of course. Hope you found benefit, and we'll look forward to seeing the next video. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you soon. Take care.